So my dear friend and fellow board member, Dr. Beth DuPree.
Thank you, Dick. Well, thank you guys for coming out on midweek on a Tuesday night. I tell everybody the sidewalks roll up here at 8 o'clock. So if you're going to do an event, it has to start at 5, so you can be done by 6. So if you want to go get dinner, you can get it before the kitchen's closed. So anyway, I am really happy to be here today. First of all, I'm thrilled to be in Sedona because it hasn't been above 10 degrees in Pennsylvania where we were for like that snowmageddon, and it was really cold. And our kids keep sending me little snapshots of 3 degrees, feels like minus 17. And I said, oh my God, we were smart. We moved to Sedona. Anyway, tonight I'm going to talk about a topic that is kind of near and dear to me, which is resilience. And I said I needed to pick a topic that is great for both men and women, because I'm going to be talking about breast cancer education and breast awareness on Thursday with Sedona women, and anybody wants to come. They do let men through the door. They don't stop you, so you don't have to be a Sedona woman to come. But when Mark and Dick and Rick Smith asked me to do this educational session out here, I was like, what can I talk about that people are going to be interested in? And to me, building resilience is something that we all need, because it allows us to grow older, healthier, stronger, and be around a lot longer. So this is me. I work with a lot of innovative companies. You'll be hearing a little bit about some of it at the end of the talk. I am a board certified general surgeon specializing in breast cancer, board certified in integrative medicine, psychedelic therapy, which don't judge, pretty important part of helping people heal. And at this point in time, I'm working part-time back in Pennsylvania with a practice that I started at Redeemer Health. It's part of the MD Anderson cancer program, and still taking care of breast cancer patients. And sometimes I even import them from Sedona. This is a little bit of my pedigree. I've been all over the place. I've been to the University of Hawaii, first my sophomore year of college, graduated from Pitt, went to Hahnemann Medical School, which is very important to me because that's where I stole my husband from the research lab, and have been working with a lot of different healthcare organizations over the years, and really just trying to, be the best I can be in healthcare. And resilience, this has been 3 decades for me, 38 years almost. And I believe that resilience was about pushing harder, working longer. And I was trained as a surgical resident to never let people see you sweat, and that resilience had to do with going and going and going until I couldn't go anymore. And I've come to realize that is absolutely not the case. But I like to think of myself as a couple lumps of coal deep in the earth, which over all of the years of surgical residency, working in different health systems, a lot of different situations with the right pressure and the right heat, I was able to get a lot of strength through some tough times. And coal becomes a diamond, but it takes intense pressure, it takes heat, and it's forged through some of the hardest sessions, in the center of the earth. And I like diamonds, you can tell because I'm wearing them. It's my birthstone too, but I love diamonds because of their resilience. And I always thought diamonds were unbreakable, and I was told it's the most resilient stone. And I always had my diamonds set really, really well. Believe it or not, I cracked 2 diamonds. So this is a laboratory created diamond, because after the second diamond, Joe's like, you're done. I didn't think that I could crack diamonds, but 2 times I cracked diamonds, and I didn't even know how. And so to me, they weren't as resilient as I thought they were, but I had a workaround. So now I got my laboratory created diamond. Anyway, as a surgeon, I was taught that, vulnerability is weakness, and that we had to be tough. To cut is to cure. Nothing heals like cold steel. Mike Ulysses can tell you, in residencies, surgical residents were like, we were not expected to probably eat or sleep for at least 48 hours at a time. And if I showed my vulnerability, somehow I was weak, which I found out that is not the case at all. Vulnerability shows your humanness. Vulnerability allows you to connect with the human condition. And I just realized that along the way, if I could adapt and adjust, I wasn't going to become extinct. But I didn't want to adapt and adjust to become what they wanted me to be. I wanted to adapt and adjust to become who exactly I am. And so it's about becoming unbreakable without losing who you are. It's about learning to bend when you need to bend. But there were several times in my healthcare journey where they tried to break me. They tried to make me be something that I wasn't. And through it, I really learned about resilience. So 38 years in the OR, what do you have to show for it? Taught me a lot. It taught me that it's not armor. You know, you can build a wall up around you, and a lot of my medical colleagues do that. They'll build a wall up so that you can't see the emotion or you can't see the empathy on the side of the caregiver. But I'm a healer that chose to be a physician. I went into medicine because I wanted to help people heal. And the armor that we put up as surgeons is to protect us from the emotional trauma that our patients go through. But I realized that letting down that armor allowed me to become who I actually am. And resilience comes at a time of uncertainty and failure. This is a beautiful hospital. It was built in Bensalem. We opened our doors in 2007. I was the CEO of that hospital. Those are my handprints that my dad used to have. My dad's a cement contractor. So every big project, you heralded it by putting your hands in the concrete. So imagine these contractors are out there, and I walk up with my ponytail, my scrubs, and they were just putting the final finish. I said, guys, I want to put my handprint in there. And they're like, ma'am, with all due respect, you know, DSI is building. I said, I'm the CEO of the hospital. I said, so I got somebody on the phone and I was able to put my handprints. They're still there today. This hospital was built because I was in the midst of a health system that was getting all the downstream revenue from the cancer care I was bringing, but they didn't want to bring in integrative medicine. They didn't want to bring in the lymphedema specialist. They didn't want to bring in the psychosocial emotional support. And so I left a hospital to build this hospital, which we had a 7-circuit labyrinth I used to walk before I'd go to the OR in the morning. We had a ceiling that was painted by one of my patients as she was going through radiation therapy. We had a wall that showed petals of echinacea that floated up and turned into breast cancer ribbons and then into butterflies. And this was like my heart and soul. And when this hospital closed after the economic tank in 2009, a piece of me died. And it was heart-wrenching because I'm like, okay, God, I listened to the messages. I followed my heart. I followed my passion. I built it, and now it's gone. But what you learn through that is you learn about resilience. You learn about the fact that although it was a beautiful facility, it was the doctors, the nurses, the techs, and the people that showed up there every day to provide the care. They were the ones that mattered. The shiny building, the beautiful building, it was great and it was nice, but it was really about the caregivers that showed up every day to provide that care. So I decided I got to stretch my resilience muscle again and stretch it and stretch it and stretch it. And so as I've learned about resilience, there's 3 pillars: awareness, adaptability, and alignment. And these are all little take-homes you're going to be able to use in your life, because we can all use resilience. We can use physical resilience in our physical bodies. We can use emotional resilience in how we connect to other people. And we can use spiritual resilience in how we deal with trauma and adversity that comes in our lives. So the first pillar of awareness is the minute we tell the truth to ourselves. And I've had a lot of these moments in my life where I had to kind of look in the mirror and go, okay, Beth, you can keep pretending, or you can wake up, you know, smell the real coffee and get on with your life, because sometimes there are certain things you just can't change. And the first thing you got to do is tell the truth to yourself, and then pause and take a listen. I've always told my patients, they're like, Dr. DuPree, I don't know what to do. You gave me 2 choices. Like, I could either do a lumpectomy or mastectomy. And they're like, I'm praying to God for guidance, and I'm praying and praying. And I'm like, well, if you don't sit down in the silence and take a listen, you're not going to get the answer, because if all you're doing is putting it out in the universe and you're not quieting your mind to listen, you're going to miss the answers. So none of us can heal what we refuse to feel. If we don't feel emotions, we can't heal them. If we continue to suppress them and push them away. And stress is information. It's not a life sentence. Stress is something that we all have in our lives every day, but how we choose to deal with stress, how we choose to address it and either find a solution or grow from it. In medicine, we monitor patients' blood pressure and heart rate. Those are our vital signs in life. Awareness is our vital sign. Being aware of a situation, being aware of an opportunity for improvement. I will always tell patients when they come to the office, like, oh, Dr. DuPree, like, I know I know that I weigh too much, and you want me to drop weight because it'll drop my estrogen, and I don't know how to do it. And I said, well, the opportunity for improvement is you can't grow taller, so your opportunity for improvement is to recognize that the only things you can do are change how you do what you do to address those issues. And so I always tell my patients, you may be a little vertically challenged, and unless you can grow 6 inches to fit into your BMI, we've got to find another way, to get you where you need to be. So there's a lot of tools with resilience. And the first thing is to take a sacred pause. Because how many times in life does something happen and you react? And I am a nuclear reactor. I'm the hothead in the family. My husband will tell you, we have 2 sons. Tommy is exactly like me. He's a nuclear reactor. And Dean is just like Joe. They're like the chill pill. And at times when I got overwhelmed in my life, there were several times I acted like a nuclear reactor, but I've learned a lot now that it just is what it is. And sometimes you just have to take the pause and let it settle in and feel, what are you feeling? What do you need? And what's one honest next step? Like, what's one tiny thing that I can move forward when I'm feeling overwhelmed to get out of that state of overwhelm? And being aware of it is the first act of courage. Recognizing that something has stopped you in your tracks allows you to begin to move forward. Adaptability is the second pillar, and it's topic of my second book called Shifting Gears, Living Life with Intention. And change doesn't mean that you failed at something in life. It just signifies that you have the ability to adapt and adjust. And I have a friend who is an exercise guru, and Pam Peake said, if you can't adapt and adjust, you're going to become extinct. Because think about all the animals that couldn't adapt and adjust as the world changed. And so I think that our adaptability is really important to learn how to shift gears. And sometimes, life throws you a curve in the road that you were not expecting. And you can either shift or drift. If you drift, you may go off the edge of the road. But if you shift, you can slow down the car and make the turn. We've got to become adaptable. And it's unfortunate because there are a lot of people that are inflexible right now in so many ways, which makes it almost impossible to turn a television on because the inflexibility is killing humanity. So then you got to reframe it. So instead of asking, oh my God, why did this happen to me? And believe me, when my beautiful hospital that I loved in Bensalem closed, there was a part of me that wanted to close with it. I had to have a surgery after that as the hospital was closing. And there was a part of me the morning of my surgery that was like, it'd be a hell of a lot easier not to wake up. I wouldn't have to live with the shame of 87 people losing their jobs. I wouldn't have to live with the guilt of having people follow me on this journey that I thought was so great. And I was really fortunate to have a healing session with one of my practitioners. And I just knew that I couldn't leave my husband and kids. And that no matter how difficult and how horrible of a kick in the gut it was, I was going to get through it. And I've learned a lot since then. So you got to ask, what is this situation asking of me? And what I realized from that was that it took me a lot of years to recognize the fact that I was not responsible for the economy tanking in 2008. It was not my fault. I think now I know it was a really wonderful synchronicity, because if that hospital had survived, the people that I built it with were not in alignment with my core values. They really, really cared about money. They cared about kind of creating a paradigm shift that they wanted to take to other hospitals. They didn't really care about the healing environment that we had built. They didn't even know what the Seventh Circuit Labyrinth was in the lobby. They didn't understand that the practitioners providing preoperative Reiki and intraoperative Reiki services for my patients, how important it was. So the universe asked me to take that lesson and move on. So what happens when your identity is wrapped around being a breast cancer surgeon? A woman's place is in the operating room. Somebody gave me that mug one day, and I was like, damn, I like that. But when your whole identity is what you do for a living, it's really hard when you stop working. And someone passed away recently, an actress, and yes, Catherine O'Hara. I loved her. And they said, like, what is your greatest accomplishment in life? And she said, my children. And I can tell you, my kids are my greatest accomplishment in life. Marianne would like to adopt both of my sons because they're her sous chefs. Our kids are our greatest accomplishment. And, you know, my husband stepped back from his career to be home with our kids. And my boys are like the best men on the planet. They can fix anything. They can make a knife out of a piece of carbon steel. They can build a table or a chair out of a piece of wood. And I can guarantee you, if I was the stay-at-home mom, that shit would never have happened. They can't operate. They can't fix a joint. They can't take out a gallbladder, but they are really competent at everything around the house. So what I discovered when I slowed down as being a surgeon is I found balance. And that's the one reason I came to Sedona when I did in 2017, is because I was on this hamster mill on the East Coast, and I was in the operating room 2 full days. I was in the office 2 full days. I was getting home every night at 8 o'clock. And 14-hour days, it's like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And you know what happened in The Shining? It was not good. So slowing down actually helped me find myself. And the one place on the earth that I could slow down was Sedona. And every year, our kids would choose to come here for spring break since 2001. And I figured it out probably 5, 6, 7 years into it. They came here because this was the one place that I let go, and I plugged my spiritual cord into the Red Rocks. And I said, wow, this is the place for me. Didn't really do that when I was in practice here, but we need lots of different gears for different seasons. And when I came to Sedona, I was back in make it happen gear. I was pushing and pushing and pushing. And again, I got lost in being a surgeon. I thought that Sedona was going to be the sleepy town where there might be, based on the data that I had coming in, there might be 80 women a year that had breast cancer. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have all this time to work with their diet and exercise and nutrition and spirituality. And within the first year, I had done 250 breast cancer cases. And I'm like, where were these women? They came out of the woodwork. So pillar 3 is alignment, getting into alignment. And resilience isn't about surviving just the hard seasons. It's about staying aligned as who you are as you move through them. And that was one of the hard things about being in practice here, because I needed to stay true to who I was. And luckily, Dr. Ulysses, who's here with me, was on that journey with me. And I found myself not being alone, but I found myself not being heard. And when you're working in healthcare and you're not heard, you can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different result, because that is the definition of insanity. So I learned to make boundaries. And I learned that rest is a requirement. It's not my reward for working hard all day. I started to listen to my internal compass, and my outer life had to get back to matching my inner core values. And that was how I built resilience, by getting back to who I was and demanding that others do it too. And I'm not done here in Sedona, so don't worry. If your mission is contradictory to your values, you're never going to be resilient, you're never going to survive, because you're always going to keep getting hit. So the resilience tool number 3, every day, does this decision drain me or sustain me? And like, we all have to start asking ourselves, because somebody calls you up and they want to go to lunch. And you know that this person is an energy vampire. And so if you go sit with them at lunch, you're going to come back and you're going to have like teeth marks because your jugular vein is going to be just gashed in. And then you have another friend you can go to lunch with, and you come back, you're like, oh my God, I'm so filled with joy and happiness, and I just want to be with that person. So I implore you to take the lunch dates with the ones that lift you up and the ones that don't lift you up. I've learned how to say no by saying, you know, I would love to, but it doesn't work for me today. It doesn't work for me. It's not no, but it doesn't work for you. And if it's not working for your soul, don't make it work for you. Decide if you're doing things out of fear, out of intention. I will tell you, I have learned, my husband and I share this sentiment. Our daughter-in-law chose to step back from her job as a teacher this year. I was staying in Philadelphia to take care of our beautiful granddaughter. And I loved it. It was the best job I've ever had because I had almost 3 months where I got to be with my beautiful grandbaby because I left both of my boys when they were 5 and 6 weeks old. And so I got this gift of being with her. But our daughter-in-law recognized that her passion and purpose in life was to be a mother. And so she left her teaching job, and we get to witness her with our granddaughter. And I have never seen a more intentional, loving, caring mother. I learned from her, and I'm like, oh my God, every mom should take mom lessons from Alex because she's taken motherhood. She's taken motherhood to such a level, like everything she does is intentional with our granddaughter, Margot. And it's so beautiful because I hear some people like moan about, oh, their kids. And, Alex says, I don't mind her getting up at night because in a couple months, she's going to be too big and she's not going to want me to hold her. And so a lot of us forget that in life, and doing things intentionally, it's just the way to go forward. I've tried to align my calendar with priorities. And when Mark wanted me to do the talk out here, he first tried for a date when I was being Baba. I was being my grandmother. That's my grandma name is Baba. I was being Baba on the East Coast. And I said, Mark, that doesn't work for me. I said, I am not back in Sedona, but when I am there, I would be happy to come and talk about resilience because I was building resilience by learning to say no to a lot of other things and saying yes to being with our granddaughter. So a new rhythm's going to find you when you stop trying to perfect your tempo. The less we try to push things where they don't need to go, the quicker the tempo comes back. So as an integrative physician, I've learned that there is an intersection of aspects of healthcare, neuroscience. I am learning so much about psychoneuroimmunology right now. Like now that I've kind of stepped back from my surgical career as much, I'm able to take the time to dive into other aspects of neuroscience, biology, learning about behavior, learning about how we can use plant medicines to help people heal, and also maintaining a high level of spiritual awareness and creating community. Like I love this community tonight because we have people from all different aspects, different places in Sedona, and I'm really grateful that everybody came out tonight. And so the science of resilience comes back to the vagus nerve, believe it or not, the wandering nerve, cranial nerve 10, the longest nerve in your body. We've got 2 branches, one on the right, one on the left. They come through the carotid sheath. They're very superficial at your ear, which is why when people tickle you in the inner part of your ear, you can get a little bit of relaxation. But the vagus nerve is easily manipulated if you know how to do it. We can do it through breath. We do it by sleep. When you sleep, your vagus nerve is getting recharged. And if people don't have high quality sleep, they're not going to do well healthcare wise. So it's one of the reasons why I'm pushing to get this information out there. You can do it through movement. Just this morning, my husband reminded me that a little over a year ago, we were getting up every single morning and doing breath work. And it was intense breath work. And it's with an Indian yogi who I'm actually going to have dinner with this Friday in Scottsdale, Ishan Shivanand. He created a yoga program called Shiv Yoga. And during COVID, he was able to do research to prove that people that did this program in the morning and the evening statistically decreased their incidence of anxiety, depression, insomnia. And your breath is free. It's right there. You can use it. And then human-human connection. The one thing I hated about COVID was how people got separated and became attached to electronics. We really need to have human connection. And I love that our community, I hope we can do more and more in the future. I think this is a vibrant community and we need to create more opportunities for people to commingle because there's a lot of people in this room that I've never met before. You live in my town. Why don't I know you? Now I know you, so I'm excited. And the meaning in life. So there's a guy, Stephen Porges, who put out a theory of bidirectional communication. Our vagus nerve runs both ways. So our body's constantly bringing information back and forth and back and forth. It enhances clarity of thought and decision-making. And it's our balance between parasympathetic vagus nerve, which is rest and digest, and sympathetic fight or flight. And what I've learned is for so many people, they're so burnt out that their sympathetic nervous system needs to come back first, because you can't take a nap if you can't run from the saber-toothed tiger. So our nervous systems need a lot of work to get back into a state of emotional stability. And by doing so, we build resilience. And that's how everybody in this room can build resilience, is by paying attention to your vagus nerve. It's important for me in cancer care, and I think it's going to be one of our mainstays of the future of bioelectric medicine, is that in our cancer patients, fatigue, pain, depression, insomnia, and cognitive impairment are all aspects of every cancer diagnosis. It's the monkey mind where your brain is going around, oh my God, am I going to live? Am I going to die? What kind of treatment I have? What am I going to look like in the mirror after I have treatment? So it's been very important to me, which is why we studied it. Inflammation increases tumor growth. And when the vagus nerve is not strong and you haven't been exercising it, it allows inflammation to lead to tumor growth. So we know that people that have their vagus nerves cut, which they used to do a lot for gastric ulcer disease, vagotomies, that tumor progresses. We also know that endometriosis gets worse. Like these are well-known facts. So when you put all of this together, stimulating the vagus nerve improves outcome. We know that. And so what we wanted to find out in our patient population is, can we stimulate the vagus nerve and reduce inflammation that we may cause with some of our things that we give, surgery and chemotherapy and radiation. But my point in telling you this is not because any of you in this room have cancer. Some may have had it. But if it can do this in the setting of post-cancer diagnosis, imagine what it does in the setting of prevention of disease and prevention of depression and anxiety. So this is a beautiful study, 20-minute sessions, and they looked at the hospital anxiety depression score. And what they did was they gave patients either 20 minutes of mindful breathing or 20 minutes of supportive listening by a doctor. And what they found, that 20 minutes of mindful breathing was far more statistically significant in decreasing anxiety and depression than 20 minutes of yapping with your doctor. Well, it depends. It might not have been the same if Mike and I were there, because patients actually like to talk to us. Vagus nerve and exercise. We know that heart rate variability, some people wear Oura rings. I don't know if you see them, but you're able to measure your parasympathetic and sympathetic tone. So exercise programs had overall positive outcomes for autonomic control. And the exercise group over the control group had better heart rate variability. And for me, this is an area that we should be researching. It's not expensive, but it's not a drug that you can patent and sell and then prescribe for somebody. But if I tell you that 10 minutes of exercise where your heart rate gets elevated increases your natural T killer cells and helper cells, are you going to go exercise for 10 minutes? If you exercise for 40 minutes, it's a dose response. So exercise needs to become a mainstay in everybody's daily activities, because it's how our body builds our own immune system to boost our own ability to clear bad cells out of our body. And that's me on Bear Mountain. My son staged it so it looks like I'm really brave, but I wasn't. I was stuck to the side. But he's pretty smart at making it look good. So there's a technology, full disclosure, I work with a company. It's a non-invasive vagus stimulation technology. And what we did was we measured patients' heart rate variability before their 5 sessions. They came 5 days in a row. They got 50 minutes of stimulation, right side, left side. And at the end of the 5 weeks, we followed them at 2, 4, 8, and 12 weeks. So what did we find? After the 5 sessions, we had highly statistically significant results in improving their overall well-being and their distress. We got rid of distress. The other thing we did was we decreased their fatigue and we decreased their insomnia. And Marion, you know this, it's like there's no drug out there that does this after 5 days. And so I was like, at the very beginning, I'm like, this is great. but it was the 5-day point. And what I wanted to do was make sure that if we're going to do something, we can get a long-term effect. So we want long-term gain from short-term intervention. So at 12 weeks, we still have highly statistically significant data. And more importantly, we're able to identify, based on the initial heart rate variability, which patients are going to fall off the scale and need to have a session sooner. And so this, we have the paper written right now. It's getting submitted for publication, but this is a technology that's going to change cancer care. And I'm really excited because if it can change the outcomes for cancer patients, imagine what it can do for people who live with anxiety, fatigue, insomnia right now, who don't have cancer, to be able to get back to sleep, to be able to get back into balance. And so we used HRV, heart rate variability, because you can't, it's not a test you can take. You put the little sensors on, your heart rate variability gets measured. So it's an objective measure. And the fact that we were able to show this in this group of cancer patients, and they'd already completed their treatment, let me know that we're on the right path. Bioelectric medicine is the future of healthcare. It's a way of helping our body to heal itself. And so we got to reset the nervous system, because a lot of us, our nervous systems are already out of whack because of those things that you sit in front of you on screens. I'm guilty as charged. I'm horrible. But for our kids, our kids shouldn't be getting screen time. We got to get phones out of school, and we got to give kids the opportunity to learn from books again and not sit in front of a computer screen all day long, because we are messing up their neural connections big time. So what can you take away tonight? One slow breath changes your physiology. If you ever have trouble falling asleep at night, there's a little biohack. Move your eyes side to side a couple times, and then put them in a square, like up, down, up, down, up, down, and then do 3 deep breaths. And I did it last night because I was thinking about this talk. So I was like, okay, monkey mind, let's do this. So I did my little thing, and I went to sleep so soundly that I woke up my husband, and he said, I had to go to the living room, he was snoring so loud. So, but it worked. I always tell my office staff, because people can call and get upset when they call a doctor's office and they think they have cancer. And I always ask everybody, before you react, take 3 deep breaths so you can then respond. And those 3 deep breaths do the same thing. With every deep breath, you're stimulating your vagus nerve as it hits your diaphragm. It's a wonderful thing to do. And it'll change your nervous system faster than 3 hours of worry. You can also splash cold water on your face. Works wonderfully. And micro moments of stillness. Just take time to just be. I am not an expert at being. I've been an expert at doing. My husband and sons are experts at being. And they kind of be, and then I'm like the bee that flies up and gets pollen and goes back. But I'm learning. I'm getting better at it in my old age. And community is amazing. Nobody builds resilience alone. And you got to have friends that you can lean on. You've got to have those people you can go to lunch with that lift you up. And send your friends that are the energy vampires. We'll put them on the Vegas technology, and hopefully we can make them become like a high vibration individual that you want to hang with. It's a group of women that I took to Mexico in January for plant medicine. Don't judge. I am not a drug using person. My dad was a cop. We had a drug testing kit on my kitchen table when our boys were young, because if they came home and I sensed that they used anything, they were going to be peeing in a jar. But Mama Bear here got really traumatized by working here, by working in this town. I didn't know what PTSD was until I had it. When I would see patients and I would start to cry when I walked back into my office, because I knew that I wasn't able to be transparent with them. And it led me to my first plant medicine journey, which changed everything. And the great thing is, instead of just doing a plant medicine to heal my soul, I went and got trained to learn about how do we bring this to cancer patients who have deep traumas that are hidden deep inside of their bodies. And what I was able to do was put together retreats now where I can take cancer survivors. I go to Mexico because I love working with indigenous cultures. If I could do it legally in Arizona up on the reservation, I would do it in a heartbeat. But these beautiful ceremonial plant medicine opportunities gave this group of women, every single one of them, a chance to reframe, to take a step back, and to become adaptable and adjusting to dealing with some traumas that had held them back forever. And so connection isn't a luxury, it's a need. Social isolation is the number one, it's the number one modifiable factor in healthcare. People who are socially isolated do worse in every metric, whether they have surgery, whether they have diabetes, no matter what. And healing happens in relationship. It happens when you have that connection. And I said it before, I'm a healer that chose to be a physician. And not being able to connect with a patient, like if a patient doesn't connect with me, I'm not meant to be their doctor, because I have to know that that energetic exchange is real. And for me, you also have to learn when to ask for help. And I did. I went to other people when I was falling off the cliff because I didn't know what else to do. I felt like I was swimming up the stream by myself. And resilient people aren't the ones that don't fall apart. Hello. They're the ones that allow themselves to be human. And we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. And being able to learn and to connect with and to lean on others when you're having a rough day is what it means to be human. This is one of my patients who, this is at my book signing. This was exactly 4 weeks after her mastectomy. She's a professional juggler. And so I thought resilience was about never dropping the ball. I was wrong. I understand that resilience is about knowing which of the balls are made of glass. And when you know which ball is made of glass, you don't drop that ball. And when you don't drop that ball and you get to the other side of whatever you're dealing with, you can celebrate. Because we all are juggling every single day. Every one of us. Isn't he cute? It's enough out of you. But for the long time, I didn't realize, I thought that all the balls in my hands were glass, and I was just trying to, and I realized that you got to prioritize. You got to pick the glass ball. And for me, this past fall, the glass ball was our granddaughter, because I was only supposed to watch her for a few weeks, and then she was going to daycare, and I was in, like, my poor husband, I was like, honey, I didn't ask permission, but I just volunteered to watch her till June. But she was the glass ball that I saw my son and daughter-in-law not be able to, like, emotionally deal with the thought of her going to daycare. And I knew that my daughter-in-law wanted to go back to teaching so badly. And had I not bridged that gap for them, had I not known that Margot was the glass ball, like, we wouldn't be where we are with her right now. And she can FaceTime me every morning, and I can put my face in the camera and she will crack up like crazy. And always, we've got to learn to forgive ourselves for being human. You know, we make mistakes, we make bad choices. I look back at the decisions I've made about building hospitals and practices. I do not regret coming to Sedona and starting a breast practice. It was one of the most important decisions of my medical career, but I'm glad I got out of it alive. I've learned to bless the thing that broke me down and cracked me wide open, because it did. But it showed me a pathway to healing through plant medicine, through electroceutical technology. It showed me the things that I needed to bring into the forefront for my patients. So this is my little guy, my little bear. And I'm not gonna drop the glass ball. I may juggle them. The other rubber ones may hit the ground, but the glass ball is not gonna hit the ground. So resilience, you're not gonna find it in your cupboard. It's not gonna be sitting there in a box up next to the pasta. So you gotta build it. And the way to build resilience is, number one breath at a time. Because every breath you take that's deep, you're stimulating your vagus nerve. And every time you stimulate your vagus nerve, you're building a stronger neural connection to your brain, to your body. Put up boundaries. That has been a tough one for me forever, because I have problems saying no to people, but that doesn't work for me anymore. Have honest conversations. Don't be afraid to, I had a conversation this week with somebody I work with, and I knew he wasn't going to be happy. But if I don't speak my peace and speak my truth, then I'm not living my inner core values. And that's going to be detrimental to me. And be intentional with your life, one shift at a time. And when you learn to do that, you stop just surviving every day and you really begin to thrive. You really begin to get back in the groove, living the life that you deserve, living the life that you desire, and being available to the people that you love in your community, in your family, your spouse, your kids, your grandkids. It's a beautiful thing. So do one shift at a time and be gentle with yourself, because you can slip backwards, but it's okay. But don't forget, your resilience grows where your intention lives. So put your intentions on the things in your home, in your relationships, in your community that matter. And this night on our porch, we only had this one time on our porch, but I did a Facebook live video because those clouds that night in September were the most phenomenal sky that I've ever seen. And I do believe that we need to be the change we wish to see in the world. You can't sit back and wait for somebody else to do it. Sometimes you got to make tough decisions to do things that, other people may not understand at the time, but got to be the change. And I want to thank you for coming tonight and learning a little bit about resilience and Health First Foundation. And Mark is walking up here right now.
Thank you.